This is Ginga Real Talk. I'm Kevin Asurpa, and today we're going to talk about being the best you can be. How do we become the best we can be? Well, one, there's influences, there's background, there's atmosphere, coaching, parents. All those things are a very big influence on you being the best you can be. Because how can you create a winning mentality if you're not surrounded by winning mentalities? The winning mentality comes from what you see. You must be influenced by what you see, what your surroundings are, certain type of people. When I was young, I followed players and sports icons like Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Romario, Ronaldo, later on Ronaldinho. Huge icons in the sport, winners. Kobe Bryant, Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, all of these types, Joe Montana. You know, I'm talking about all different sports, Donovan Bailey. All of these things played a huge part on my success later on, having a 12-year professional career and having a 10-year stint in the national program. It was all because of my influences and what mentality was being implemented into my mind. And I just wanted to make sure that I was always surrounded after later on with people that are always pushing me to be the best. It was never good enough in the end for me. I would do well in certain things, and in the end it still wasn't good enough. I always wanted more. And this mentality was implemented very young, and watching amazing athletes, winners, winning teams, winning coaches. Later on in my professional career, I got to have some amazing coaches that gave me the extra that I needed to continue in my professional soccer career. My advice to young kids nowadays is to continue trying to find those mentors, if they be coaches, if they be players you see on TV. YouTube is very easy nowadays. You can just type in an icon or a super athlete's name and you can basically follow his story. Nowadays there's documentaries. Kobe Bryant has a very nice winning documentary, winning mentality documentary. I mean, the list goes on kids nowadays, what they can be influenced by. When I was young, there was no YouTube, there was no Instagram and icons sharing every single idea and every single step of the way with nutrition and training. There was none of that when I was young. It was more about family and parents and those type of influences. Kids are actually pretty lucky nowadays because they have it all in front of them, and if they don't want it, then they won't become. And if they want it, they could become much easier than I. When I say easier, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. What I mean is the information and the influence is easier. They can just get on their iPad or get on their computer, type in someone's name, and find out all the tricks and the trades that all these top athletes use to continue being at the top, or how they got to the top. There are some mentalities that you just can't have. You know, mentality of giving up, mentality of blaming others, a mentality of I don't want to work hard, I'm a good player so I don't have to do fitness. These things are negatives, and if you follow those type of mentalities, then you're basically on your way down and you're killing your chances of getting to the top. The right mentality is never give up mentality, push more, always positive. You can always do better, but also be satisfied with your performance. You can't be too hard on yourself. You have to be hard on yourself in your performances and analyze what you're doing, but you can't be too hard on yourself, because then you're just going to drive yourself crazy and that'll turn into a negative. I was fortunate enough to have a positive mentality, winning or losing. Like I said before, I had some great influencers and some mentors that helped me, if I was thinking negatively, to get me out of that mindset and bring me back into what I was doing good and what I can do good and what the future brings. Also, another thing, to not dwell on the past. You know, if you've done something wrong, or if you've lost a game, you can't be thinking about it too much. You have to think about what you did. You have to analyze a little bit, and then try to correct the negatives and try to correct your mistakes, but not overthinking it and not driving yourself into the wall because you made one bad pass or you made one mistake, or in that situation, you know, you have to, as a coach, you have to help that kid, and you have to make sure that that kid doesn't go down that path. Speaking of players and coaches, now I'm speaking as a coach. It's very important that coaches recognize each player and not just focus on one or two. They recognize each player and how their mentality is, and if they are having a bad game, sit them down for about 5 minutes directly after the game. Don't wait till practice, and give them a few tips, give them a few pieces of advice, and make sure that their confidence going away from the game is on a positive side. Make them recognize that there was mistakes, of course, but you have to make sure that you leave that kid with a positive mentality, that he will fix it. Nobody's perfect, and there's another chance, another practice, another game to make your mistakes better and help the team. This message is for the parents. It's great to be hard on your kid to a certain extent, but I've seen a lot in the last 9 years where parents have basically had such a high expectation, and later on I see that the child doesn't play at the level that he wants anymore because there was too much pressure, there was too much expectation. And for me as a coach and as a former young player and then turning professional, I know that that's not the right way. And when I see a kid sad about their parents' expectation, that's something that can be controlled, and that's something that doesn't need to happen. So if you're a little bit hard on your child because they didn't play well or because they didn't try, those are two different things. They didn't play well because they made mistakes. No one's perfect, but if they didn't try, okay, that's something that needs to be brought up, and you need to show them that that's not the right mentality, and you have to tell them. If it has to happen 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times, it has to happen, and you have to repeatedly tell them. But all in all, in a positive way, because kids have feelings and they're out there having fun and they want to give their best. And maybe today they're not feeling that well, or maybe today they're just not, at their best, and that has to be accepted because they are human, and none of us are perfect, and we all make mistakes. But definitely is good to be disciplined on your child. Definitely is good to continue giving the message of working hard and never giving up. But in the end, as an adult and as a parent, there has to be a mentality that recognizing that it's just a child, especially if he's 8 or 9 or 10. You can't push too hard because then it takes the fun out of the game. On the flip side to that, it's also not good to be too positive. You create bad habits. You create laziness, you create ego, and these type of things are the flip side. You can't be too negative and you can't be too positive. There has to be a balance where if they're doing well, yes, of course, give them the cheering, give them the pat on the back, you did amazing, son or daughter today, and feel proud and give them that feeling of positivity. But not, you're the best and you're the best in the team, take it all the way. Don't pass it to them because they're not good. That's obviously happening a lot around, but it's a negative. It's a total negative. It's a lose-lose situation because you don't want to create egos, and you don't want to create selfish players, especially playing on a team, and you don't want to create that conflict, player and player. And also, there's other parents sitting beside you. You don't want them, sitting there thinking, well, look at this parent. This just thinking about their own kid when you actually play on a team. So having the balance between positive and negative, and not creating the ego and not creating the child to not want to play again, there has to be a balance, and it's up to you because the coach has their role and the parent has their role, and if both are on the same page, then the child will be right up there and on the right path. So that was a little short video today. I just want to thank you all for watching. I'm going to be continuously sending out these Real Talk videos because I'm getting a lot of great feedback, and thank you so much for watching. And that's Real Talk.